Today I'm canning peach honey butter, and this recipe is from a canning book which was written by Better Homes and Gardens. The first thing you do is peel and slice up your peaches. Then you put your peaches in a pot, add a little water, and simmer for 10 to 15 minutes until the peaches are tender. Then you remove them from the heat and cool them slightly. Put the peaches into a blender and puree them. Then you put the puree back into the pot, add the sugar and honey, bring it to a boil, and let it simmer for about 10 minutes until it's thick. Now it's ready to can. I have my lids and rings at a simmer, and I have my jars hot and ready. I take a hot jar, I fill it with the peach butter, leaving 1/4 inch headspace. Then I wipe the rim of the jar clean, added a hot lid, a hot ring, and I tightened it firmly. Then I place the jar in the water bath canner to stay warm until all of the jars are full. Then I dropped the rack of the canner down into the pot, made sure there was at least 1 inch of water covering the jars, put the lid on, and I processed it for 10 minutes. Now, according to the instructions, you're supposed to process this for 5 minutes in a water bath. However, it's my understanding that whenever you process anything for less than 10 minutes, then you get into sterilization issues. Therefore, I processed mine for 10 minutes, and I recommend that you process it for 10 minutes too. Incidentally, if you look at the recipes for jams, jellies, and fruit butters in the Ball book, they're all processed for 10 minutes, so they're the ones that I trust. When the time was up, I turned off the heat, removed the lid, let it sit for 5 minutes, then I removed the jars and set them on the counter to cool. I'm not only using a Better Homes and Gardens recipe in this video, but I'm also using Better Homes and Gardens jars. Last year I bought a couple dozen of these jars, and when I got them home and took them out of the box, they were mighty cute, but it was a bit disconcerting when I looked at the bottom of the jars and I saw that they were made in China. Now, I don't have anything against the Chinese. They're very fine, very hardworking people. However, they don't have a good reputation for making things that will last long term, and they also have a reputation for using unsafe materials. I point out Chinese drywall as an example. All of the jars that I have some that have lasted me for 35 years. They were all American made, and I would hope that the Chinese jars would stand up just as well, but I just don't have faith in it. So as for me, I won't be buying any of these jars in the future. Now, I haven't used these jars a lot, and I don't think that I have used them in pressure canning yet, but I can see that the jars are thinner than the standard American-made jars. And the problem with the thinner glass is that the rim of the jar will also be thinner, and when you have that smaller surface there for the lid to adhere to, it can create problems with getting the jars to seal. The thinner glass also has a higher rate of breakage during a pressure canning process. So I won't be buying these jars again in the future. And the lids and rings that I've used, when you use these lids, you can tell they grip the jar kind of oddly. And the rings, the paint chips off of them very easily. So, like I said, as for me, I won't be buying these jars again. And I expected better from Better Homes and Gardens. Now check this out. They have an article in this book, 5 rules of canning. Rule number 5 is to keep everything clean and hot. They tell you to can 1 jar at a time, not assembly line style. So turn the page, what do you see? They're canning assembly line style. And not only that, but they're not using their own jars either. So that's how I can peach honey butter. I hope it helps.